they need to ban Kaisa, right? So EDG must have an answer to the Kaisa
Ivern
in their pocket here.
I don't know what Ivern Tristana. I could see that just being a realistic rotation for
Even
EDG.
Maokai Tristana too.
Maokai Tristana as well, right? Same kind of deal. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them. I don't blame EDG. So now, WE, all right, sure, you can get the Maokai if you want it. It's been banned the entire series long. Heng has loved this champion. It's been his most played. It's technically tied right now with Poppy because he had that one Poppy game. So if it's the Maokai, or you could end up with this Nocturne. The hover's actually kind of interesting because then if you go Nocturne, you're geared into full dive. And Ivern, surprisingly, whilst he obviously has the tools to deal with diving compositions, if it's too overbearing and you overload it, it is actually a very scary situation, which he can't, you know, he can't peel for multiple people at the same time. So interesting direction that W are trying to go towards. I like this new flavor, but EDG now, knowing that W are probably going for, you know, these flank angles, this full commitment on the dive, will likely go towards another defensive pick, in my mind, right? Something that can really nullify a lot of these agents from WE and just play off that fact.
I love that W are leaning into Heng being the carry here. Jiejie will go for the Xayah. Not too surprising on that one. The Annie, though, for Shanks, right? Despite a slight nerf to Annie, still willing to go for this pick to be a setup tool for Heng and hope to be that kind of dive buddies. But also Nocturne does well into things like the Ivern because he can just outduel it. Ivern can't win that 1v1, so even though Nocturne, not necessarily a champion you think of for trying to find fights early on, certainly can against a pick like Ivern.
Yeah, exactly right. And not only that, the spells from the side of Ivern, very, very telegraphed. So the spell shield is actually very, very usable, no matter how you, you know, decide to allocate it. Use the W to block the root or the E damage, either way. Heng could look to get aggressive depending on how the lane priorities look. We'll see how they actually lie. But with Uzi picking up that Xayah on third pick, it means that WE have to respect the potential Rakan combo. Even though they probably would have liked to have had Rakan on their end, there's still plenty of other diving options available, right? Things like the Alistar there, the Leona there. EDG can't ban all of them off of the table, so they'll have to kind of pick their poison here and then maybe pick away the other. We'll see how they end up flying with these bans.
I would love it if Alistar makes it through the ban phase here because Meiko's Alistar is just vintage, isn't it? It's so beautiful to see.
I think W will ban it.
it's his most played champion of all time. I feel like as WE, you kind of have to ban that and respect it. Things like, oh no, gonna ban away the Jacks. Don't want to have Ala on that one. Renekton, just non-existent today, by the way, for top side.
You know what? You've said it. I think you've just spoken it into existence because I'm not sure that. I mean, so here's the thing. Do you care about topside counter pick more than support in a setup like this? I feel like you don't. And Renekton does an excellent job of being a good middle ground between being a frontliner and being a damage dealer. And into a dive comp, I think that's really valuable. We'll see if they care about that more than the Alistar, which is of course left up. I think that Kennen ban really did prompt that Jax ban, right? It was a protection ban for Arla, and if they didn't end up picking up you know, the Jax ban, then it would have just gone over and they would have felt a bit bad about it. So WE now with the Renekton in their own right, I feel like you have to take it away. Otherwise, then it's something that EDG then have, right? And it's such a defensive setup at that point.
Are you ready? Ala Quinn is about to go on the counter pick. I mean, it's an AD carry, and you've got an Ivern. It weirdly kind of makes a little bit of sense, although I don't know if you want to play it into a Nocturne. Let's see what the pick is in the bottom side. Blitzcrank into Alistar. Not the greatest lane matchup, but certainly can do work later on.
I was going to call out that Arla's probably going to look towards something like the Gragas, I think, into this Renekton lane. Ornn, I actually like as a flavor as well, just because it then also gives you the option for re-engage, right? Once the lights come off, or if you know where the dive is coming through, you can just call the ram over the top of that dive. So something defensive on the top side, I like it. And even though EDG, I think the reality of the situation of these lane matchups is they're probably not going to have much priority anywhere. If they can survive the storm, I don't know how WE realistically ever make a dive comp work into this many defensive tools outside of Lwandy breaking the game with rocket grabs. That is it. So I feel like so much is on his pick here to actually, you know, take out a member of EDG almost instantly before a team fight even happens.
The amount of knockups from EDG across this team is absolutely absurd. And then on top of that, you got the shielding from Jiejie, and then on top of that, you got Featherstorm. Like FoFo has his Buster Shot. This feels incredibly difficult to actually win an outright 5v5. They went all the way from round 1 to round 4, lost in a 5-game series against EDG, and then never won again. never won another game, went 0-12 in a row, and got knocked out of regionals, and now they're looking to make things happen. I just want to correct myself there. They won against EDG in that series, not lost, sorry. Massive series for them. It was a huge win, but then went on a 0-12 streak, and one of those 3-0 losses was against EDG in the lower bracket, denied entry to Worlds by EDG. And now in round 1 of playoffs, they want to make another miracle run happen. It's 2 years later. It's a bit of a different roster. And so far, it's been a tougher series for them, but it's still possible.
Still possible. It's not off the table yet. Just because one game was particularly lopsided, it doesn't mean that we can ignore what happened in the first 2 games of the series. We'll see whether or not we have an unfolding of that, as Lwandy just committed 2 charges of the sweeper to not find the ward.
Still didn't get the ward.
A little bit unlucky, but that's just how it falls sometimes.
Absolute banter.
Great banter.
I want to, since we're going to have a reasonably quiet early game by the looks, it's Nocturne versus Ivern, so you don't expect necessarily too much going on there as Meiko pulled in here. Good bit of damage onto the cow, but it will be lane priority for Uzi here. I want to quickly talk about Uzi for a second and like his reputation, his legacy as a player, because I think a lot of people have him in the conversation for greatest AD carry of all time. And like when you think of the legacy of Uzi, you think of winning the LPL, you think of going to Worlds, winning MSI. But it's worth noting that for Uzi, winning Worlds is still something he's not managed to make happen. Yeah, Meiko's in big trouble here. They're not going to flash onto him, and Uzi with a root onto Hope. We'll be able to keep his support alive. There is a bit of sustain there for Meiko as well.
Yeah, don't forget, Alistar passive will heal him up over time. But yeah, I mean, Hope not willing to commit forward and find that flash, because at the end of the day, if you flash forward, then you're right on top of Uzi, who's already got feathers on top of you. You are almost certainly going to die. So not willing to find that 2v2, but good pressure from Lwandy. That hook is going to fly wide.
That was a little too close for comfort there. Is the hook just about going past Uzi. They'll be able to crash this 3rd wave. Good start to the lane here from EDG, despite that flash being burned. From Meiko, Shanks is in trouble as FoFo jumps on in. Big damage coming through. That'll be a wave crashed as well. Jiejie arriving just in time to help his mid laner take control of that lane as Uzi actually takes a tower shot and almost gets hooked as Meiko goes underneath the tower, but now he's tanking. He goes down for first blood. I like the idea, but Hope too quick on the fingers.
I don't know if I even like the idea much. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, sure, the start was there, but why risk the flip? You know, like, why bother? I mean, now, the kill went over to Lwandy, which is not the end of the world, but and then you don't really want to yield any kind of lead, any kind of pressure. Oh, WE sit with first blood. We'll see how that impacts the bottom side, if at all, for now. EG just a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah. I'm gonna riskily go for my Uzi storyline again. I don't know if I'll have time here, but no.
Yeah,
let's look at the replay.
No, talk over the replay. No, it's fine.
Okay,
like,
let's talk Uzi as he dodges the hook there. A lot of people think of him as like an absolute champion player, but Uzi, his legacy so far is actually 2nd place. In 2018, he won Spring, he won MSI, he won Summer, he won Asian Games. He was 1 step away from making it to that golden road and winning Worlds. But the thing is, when you look at the rest of his career, Season 3 Worlds, 2nd place. Season 4 Worlds, 2nd place. 2016 Summer, 2017 Spring and Summer, 2019 Summer, all 2nd place. Uzi has never won a major tournament outside of 2018. And I feel like this is the year, coming back into professional play on the team that was his rival for such a long time, the reason that he got so many of those 2nd places. I feel like this is the year where he wants to change that. This would be the year where he wants to make it back to Worlds. And in Spring, EDG was so close to making it to MSI, upset by BLG. Then Uzi joins this squad. Now they're in round 1 of playoffs. But game number 3 of the series looked fantastic. It feels like they've warmed into things. And you know that Uzi is desperate to change that story about his past.
You know it for sure. Let's see if this play works out.
Perhaps an opportunity to set him up for that hope knock back in, and the feathers fly back. Uzi with a kill for the game, already had the recurve bow, and now set up for success.
We asked what the repercussions of that dive would be. Sure, Meiko did technically kind of grief in, but he got Hope's flash, right, in that dive regardless. Now with no flash down there, very easy punish. Good job from EDG to just kind of catch W. It's a very awkward gank path. Speaking of awkward gank paths. Heng looking for a bit of action before level 6. I always like to see that from Nocturne, but will likely look to start to return to farming soon.
This is not super important in terms of the game, but I just noticed that even on the Chinese client, and he still just yells Yay Tibbers, which makes sense because Tibbers is its name and Yay is not an actual word. Uzi, not level 6 right now, but Lwandy doesn't pull the trigger on the hook. Taking another look at the setup for Jiejie, just hiding in that brush.
Lean setup, I mean, at the end of the day, Jiejie able to just find his angle, right? And Q, easy to follow up on from Meiko. Finds the knock up. I think he actually headbutts him out of the trigger seat damage.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's very much dead. You know, it doesn't really matter.
But I love that, like, I've never thought about this. Ivern plus Alistar is kind of insane. You have the issues of Ivern in the, the issues of Alistar in that, you know, your headbutt, you can only use once in a combo. Do you WQ and miss out on part of the CC? Do you flash Q and then knock them back? No, you just rip them with Ivern and you fly in Q and then headbutt them back without ever having to use the flash. I feel like he covers all of Alistar's weaknesses.
Hey. All right, you know, I'm a bit of a Ivern nerd, and I'm gonna rant for a second whilst WE take this dragon, and EDG are just really looking for cross maps, and there's not really much available. Like, Ivern for years has honestly been better at emboldening these bruise up picks, as Cube's gonna just force Arla back a bit. Ultimate for basically a health bar, not the end of the world for Arla, as he'll just probably heal back up those biscuits, and if he has the base, I'm sure he will be happy to.
Rant for me, Jamada, rant for me.
Run. So, like, honestly, Ivern is so much better at buffing up, in my mind, you know, these bruises that want to kind of dive in, and the trigger seat damage as well really can push, like, exchanges over the edge way more than you would actually expect. Now, I will say, with the recent Ivern changes and how the E works in terms of getting that refresh, things like Ardent and even Staff, when you've got so many hybrid, like, ADs in the meta right now, they're pretty broken, because that shield refresh then refreshes the you know, the staff and things like the Ardent procs as well, if I recall correctly. I'm pretty sure that's the interaction and how it works right now. So, honestly, he actually sits in a much better neutral spot, but for ages he was so much better at buffing up bruisers and just enabling them, because like you say, you know, you find the root caller all of a sudden. If you typically need a gap closer to get on top of a carry, you don't have to, because you can just click on that target and very easily just dash to them, and you can hold on to that for if they use a flash or if they use their own dash, you can follow it up.
And you know, there's a bonus synergy here in the composition from EDG, because as you say, Root Caller available for Jiejie, Feather Caller for Uzi, and, you know, Call of the Fortune. There's a lot of calls going on EDG in this composition.
Speaking of, hey!
Is it going to work as he tries to play the wave? Hope has moved up to the top side of the map here, as that'll be one plate taken, and Cube backing off a little bit there, but won't fully commit to leaving the play. Heng has that Herald available as Uzi is just going to sweep gold up on the bottom side of the map here. They expect Meiko to move away to give over, the solo plates there. It's going to be in trade for a Herald on the top side. Cube and Heng both getting involved on the gold alongside Hope. So certainly in terms of AD carries, it's a gold advantage for Uzi. But in terms of the overall game, you can see WE streaking ahead now.
Now, my only question is, like, this laning phase was going pretty well for Cube, and again, much like game number 3, like, you've ended the laning phase. Is it too early? Hook lands.
Oh, they're going to go in for this one, but he's gone way too deep. Look at the knockups! How do you ever dive? That's just 3 of the players on EDG. Imagine when there's an Ivern and a bloody Xayah in the mix.
Yeah, let's look bot, by the way, because Uzi's still hitting the tower. He's just alone down there. So, what I was going to say is, Cube was winning out on this laning phase, right? He's got Gold Drinker. Fantastic. That's wonderful. Dragon is 2 minutes away, so it's not like the last game where, like, when EDG did this and they got a whole bunch of towers, they were able to just immediately kind of flex their muscles with that gold lead. You kind of just taken him out the laning phase. You see how important it actually ends up being. Everything kind of flies wide. So Shanks is at no threat. Does lose the Tibbers, but cooldown will be back up by the time the next dragon is ready and active. But yeah, I'm just, you know, I get it from Heng, but he just shouldn't do it. You know, like,
I mean, not a lot he can do with that one, is it? He doesn't get to move the second he's in. He's just absolutely bodied.
He goes in and he's in a bouncy castle, and then he just dies. It's like a Mario pit of spikes. That's basically what he ends up landing on. Yeah, I don't know. It's
that classic phrase, the Mario pit of spikes. Oh, I'm always saying that with my friends.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have any friends. What am I talking about? That guy can dream. Let's talk about these AD carries though, because Uzi is 20 CS up. He got that kill earlier on in the game, and my goodness, got 4 plates, and they were all solo plates, while denying not only CS but XP from Hope. You can see he's a level up in that AD carry role as well, and we saw how aggressive Uzi will be when he gets this Xayah. Kraken Slayer already online, boots picked up as well as a dagger. Like, Uzi is an absolute monster right now, with Drake spawning on the map in 50 seconds. You gotta believe EDG are willing to play for that.
Yeah, absolutely, they will be. They're not gonna let WE pick this one up for free. And again, you know, I think just the way that when you talk about scaling and just interactions of these competitions generally, you just have to imagine EDG well, right? Not just even because of Uzi, but WE, what's their comp want to do? It wants to dive. What does EDG's comp want to do? It wants to stand this ground, but also it absolutely blows up anything that comes in range of it, right? Tristana, Xayah, all of the knock-up CC. How does it feel feasible to play the game as WE? They're going to have to get creative, and again, Lwandy, he's going to have to hit the mark sooner or later. Heng, threw it up.
Meiko with some nice side steps there. There was a control ward in the tri-brush, so able to hide out of vision there. The skill shots all go wide. Look at the health on that tower in the bottom lane as well. There's still 2 minutes to finish that play off if Uzi ever gets any time to work on it. Lwandy moving in to try and deal with some of these control wards, but Meiko is there in the headbutt. It's gorgeous again. The route into the dash for the Alistar. I love this combo.
I'm gonna have to find me an Alistar duo because I still play Ivern to this day. This looks busted. I haven't seen Alistar Ivern.
With this combo, I'll play Alistar for you, buddy.
We'll call this, in, man. Hop in.
You know, we've all eaten the laughing cow. This is the flying cow. The combo coming out here is he just like wiggles towards you and then beats the crap out of you. Absolutely insane stuff. EDG, they're onto a winner here.
Yeah, I think they are. And again, like, I'm just kind of concerned. All right, sure. Again, W accelerated the game on the top side of the map. What does it do for the game? You know, like, Renekton right now wasn't able to participate in this dragon fight. I mean, part of it does come down to this pick, but at the end of the day, I'm just not sure they were willing to commit. Man, look at this bounce house, man. Rooted into Polv knock-up, into Daisy knock-up. What do you even do?
How do you play into this comp, man? I just don't understand what you're meant to do.
You don't. That's kind of the thing. Don't get me wrong. And again, from WE, I requested a change up in gameplay, right? In the sense of like style of draft. Unfortunately, EDG just kind of had all of the things that they wanted up and available to deal with the diving tools that they saw on the side of WE.
And you got to remember that this is EDG, their first game on red side in this series, and we asked the question, can you afford to leave Kaisa up? EDG said yes, and then they said, watch this. They've built this anti-dive composition to show you that Kaisa ain't that scary if nobody that dives is allowed anywhere near your carries.
Let's not forget, right? WE had the opportunity to go towards something like the Maokai, a lot more neutral, very capable of diving. Meiko, that's flash.
Does have his flash available, gonna use his ultimate, tries to hold on and dodges the hook.
Okay.
Meiko just smurfing on him.
He could just be a Giga Chat and just walk out of it. How the hell that works better, I guess. But yeah, like, we could have seen something like Maokai. Shanks is no stranger to, you know, other AD mid laners just outside of Tristana as well. Very...
on top of the anti-dive, you've also got Ornn against Blitzcrank. Not that Lwandy's been able to hit a hook yet, but even if he does, it's going to hit Blitz. It's going to hit Ornn, who just balance breaths
it. W it. Yeah.
This is impossible.
I'm not going to lie, this is not ideal at all for the side of WE.
Look, I'm usually one of those guys that is not a fan of talking about like draft cap, not a fan of talking about like, you know,
this is one of those moments.
Wins the draft that it's impossible to win. This is one of those drafts where actually, like, you and me, I'm kind of like, how the hell do you win this for WE? Unless EDG really, really mess it up. Well, we have seen them really mess it up in this series. In game number 2, game number 1, both of them very messy from both teams.
Okay, they want
FoFo could be caught out. This is the opportunity here for WE.
Nope. Bye.
Ups over the wall. He's out of there.
What do you do? Like, even if the girl's off a dress, she's got a rocket jump, probably. Even if she's used it, then she can just bust the shot you away. What? I don't know. It's so hard. I mean, yeah.
Root caller the Forge God. The feathers not going to be anywhere near his Meiko. Going to be forced to use his ultimate here, and a TP comes out from Cube to defend Shanks. As Heng slams the arrow down in the mid lane, this will be a tier 1 for WE. So, small advantage game for them. It cost 3 ultimates from EDG as well to defend.
Did. Yeah, the tier 1, so, you know, it's the little wins in life for WE right now. Maybe? I was going to say, maybe they've got the control of it.
It's worth mentioning, WE are actually up in gold right now. It doesn't feel like it on the Rift,
does it?
They are actually 1,000 gold up right now, which is...
It's so strange.
I'm not especially sure how they're up in gold. I guess it's the tower up top.
I think it was the tower plates that they got top, and they got the tower in mid lane, and they secured Heralds as well. Don't forget, Heralds are worth a fair amount of gold, so...
That's true.
I think that mixed in with some of the CS from the top side, but also then that's being made up by Uzi. So yeah, just for a 1k gold lead, it really doesn't feel like it. And you could honestly just argue the feel of this game is EDG are like 3k up, right? Like that's what it feels like, really.
It's been a weird one. It's been a weird series, Jamada. I mean, look, it was always going to be a weird series. First series on 13.3, and I feel like inevitably there was going to be a couple of comps that came out that were like, okay, we figured this patch out and you haven't. And I feel like this is that draft. This is that patch, the draft where EDG are saying, this is our 13.3 research. This is what we figured out from our scrims. What have you got to say about it, WE? So far, it's not been working out for WE. The one thing I will say for them is side lane presence for WE. If Shanks can get like a flash Tibbers onto one of the solo laners with Heng ulting in, or likewise with Cube getting the setup into Heng flying in, that could be their way to make things happen. Meiko in a bit of an awkward spot, going to use the headbutt to get out, has to flash as well. It's a big cooldown for the Alistar.
WE will use this window to just go towards the dragon because they see FoFo on the top side. It seems like EDG just aren't. They're not bothered. They're trading it in tower damage in the mid lane, and FoFo is going to be able to knock on this tier 2 just a little bit, right? He will draw the teleport out of Shanks. If he wants to, he can now rotate to the mid lane, help out EDG on this siege if they really want. So this is not really that bad for EDG because remember, at 1 dragon apiece, there is no soul in play for so long. They don't care. And here you go, FoFo rotates in, this tower's dead. EDG are chilling right now as far as game state is concerned. They might even try and look for a fight.
No, TP comes out from Ala. He'll protect his team from the potential hooks. So far, Lwandy not been able to influence the game all too much, except for very early on in the laning phase. FoFo ready to buffer the W should the need come for it. All right. Cube trying to get into the back line here. The bounce house kicks off. Isabella spread not even needed. Ala now stunned by Shanks. And the call of the Forge God, the re-engage. EDG's turn to have a go. Shanks with a bomb on his head, trying to escape, and he will do so. Uzi pulls the feathers a little early.
Oh, they got Uzi!
It's Uzi! WE, we asked how. They give us an answer. The team fight for WE, and now they're in charge.
This was re-engaged by EDG, though. They could have just stepped away. WE need to make use of these kills and some of the gold that was just handed over to them. We'll see where the items lie. Right? At the end of the day, they are so close that, Hope should have that Nashor's too if you would like to think. And things like Black Cleaver will come online in the top side. Get a look at the replay because you can see WE, they're looking for the engage, right? Look at what happens. It's just basically Ornn stays in the front, headbutt away onto the Renekton. A root as well comes through, the hook misses, and at that point, there's basically no way to really find an in. But then EDG elect to actually look for the re-engage flash ult to try and catch Shanks off guard, but they don't actually get enough damage onto him for a little while, to be honest with you. And by the time that bomb blows up, there isn't anything actually on top of him. The hook then connects onto Uzi. It's just a bit strange. from EDG, admittedly. Like, they can just walk away from this, but the WE's coaching staff, okay, you can see how passionate he is.
Did he just shout, "Let's go"? I'm pretty
He
sure
might
he
have.
just
I'm
shouted,
not-
"Let's go."
I think he did.
I have never seen one of the Chinese coaches scream "Let's go" before, but I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. Oh wow, we said there was no way. We'd pretty much counted WE out with this composition, but the hook from Lwandy, and that's the thing about Blitzcrank, it doesn't matter how many hooks you miss across the game, it just matters when you hit that one crucial hook. Uzi with an aggressive Feather Storm and punished massively by Lwandy.
Exactly. Uzi really needs to selectively use the Feather Storm, right? Like, he can't afford to just use it necessarily for damage, because if Lwandy hasn't thrown out that rocket grab, then Lwandy will take full advantage of it. FoFo, speaking of being advantage of the cube,
Yeah.
no, not gonna find the 1v1. I was wondering, I was like, in my head, I was like, will FoFo just try and like play this 1v1, kite him out? Looks like the answer's no. We'll just let the wave.
I don't know if melee range is really the play, especially with a Nocturne in the game. FoFo, what was that?
I'll be honest. Have you seen that
What?
emote? Have you seen the court trolling emote? Have you seen that one Twitch chat before?
I have not, but
You've not? It's a great emote, mate. You should go look it up, because that's what FoFo just did. Why did he take the blast cone? It's so strange.
He could
But not only
see
that, the
him.
fact that Heng is
There was
there
minions.
to capitalize. Yeah, I don't. It's so weird. This is a weird game. This has been a weird series. And this, again, the compositional difference for us, right? And what we've been describing is that EDG should be able to just kind of group up as 5 and just stand up to what WE can throw at them, right? Nothing that hits the wall should ever stick for WE. But, you know, they elected that one re-engage, and now FoFo is also kind of just handed them a bit of a freebie on the side lane. Fortunately, there was no flash or anything like that to blow. Do we need to see a full picture replay of this? I feel like we don't. I mean,
oh, it was a misclick.
oh,
That was a misclick.
that. You know what? You might be right. I do wonder. Like,
100%, 100%. That was an attack move click.
Yeah, Grump was close enough, right? At the end of the day, to that blast cone, you could be correct. It could actually just be a misclick flat out.
Oh, that is so unlucky. That is so. But that's the kind of unlucky mistake that you can't be affording to make. Like, remember, EDG, by all accounts, should have been at MSI, but BLG shut them out. And now in round 1 of playoffs, you can't be making mistakes like that. Still looking good in the game. Well, actually, no, in the game, the 5k goal down. Looking good in the series. Compositionally looking good in the game. Shanks going to be able to grab tier 2 up in the top lane. EDG, massive presence on this Drake. But WE don't look like they're giving this one up for free. TP available for Shanks, and immediately starts to be channeled. Drake will go down here, taken by EDG, but can they survive the fight? Shanks with a massive engage, and Heng flies into the backline. In goes Hope for more. Uzi surviving for the time being, but the rest of his team might not be so lucky. Shanks finds Uzi as Ala, barely walking out with his life, should be finished by Cube in the end. And WE, I mean, I guess it works if you all dive together.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that angle from Shanks, though, realistically, right? Sets up so well, stuns up 3-4 members of EDG, and they're not able to respond with Jiejie dead as well. Is Baron on the cards? This teleport, I don't think it's going to be punishable because it's Cube. Big old health bar, and this is it. This is Baron for WE. This game was being held basically stonewalled by EG for 20 minutes. But in the space of 4,
Yeah,
they've managed to give over a couple of picks, and now the Baron.
this has been one of the strangest series I've cast in my career, but my goodness, WE, look at this engage from Shanks. Absolutely monumental. The hook from Lwandy plucks him out of the air as well.
Yeah, I think actually the fact that FoFo is not able to dish any damage out to some of these frontline divers as well is kind of critical. He could even maybe, you know, argue protect Uzi from Shanks as well, the Buster Shot. So huge moment from WE. I think the fact that they're able to dive but also approach from multiple angles, that's not just one frontal assault for EDG to manage, was key. And that's how you break apart these kind of anti-dive compositions. You have to make it awkward for the tools to be used, and this was a really good case study of that.
And well, 4 games in the series so far, and 4 games where Shanks has been an absolute monster. Like, what a series from him. Ball of the Forge gone, a pick now for EDG as Lwandy's taken down. And that really makes things difficult when it comes to using the Baron.
It does. But I will say, Munch, look at the gold on the top of your screen. Look how big it's been in favor of WE. That is absolutely massive. When Shanks picks up the death cap, that's going to be the next big iron breakpoint, and Hope is also quite close to finishing up that Guinsoo's. They can get it well enough in time before Uzi and FoFo pick up their third items, and then they start fighting again. I don't know if EDG can really deal with that much additional damage on deck for the WE carry specifically. Even Cube, like, if he ends up with a GA, then he could just kind of dive willy-nilly into that, you know, big core. He's very happy to dish out all of the AoE damage because he knows he'll have the revive on the back end. So let's see exactly how EDG kind of, you know, restabilize or try to restabilize this game as much as you can with a 7k gold deficit, but also what WE are willing to actually, you know, put forward in terms of these engages, right? Because they still know the kind of, I don't want to say compositional deficit they're in, but they know they have to be very meticulous of their approaches on the team fights. They can't just throw their bodies in, or they know they will be picked off very easily.
Yeah. It's all about the hooks from Lwandy. All about picking the moment. They need, I mean, to be honest, they kind of need a mistake from EDG in terms of positioning to have their window. The fact that both FoFo and Ala can just buffer the hooks coming out from Lwandy does make it difficult to find that moment for WE. But the Baron's certainly helping. That'll be gone in 20 seconds. And then it's a question of what do WE do? Meiko could be in trouble. He's going to Hex Splash over the wall as they look for Shanks. Heng goes in, but he's just going to be CC'd up. Tibbers comes out. Shanks knocked up and taken out of the picture. Tibbers next as Heng tries to escape, but he's going nowhere. TP available for FoFo if he wants to defend mid lane, but I don't think it's even needed. Recalls have to come on through for WE, because their siege is done.
Oh, WE, you can't afford to be uncoordinated like this. EDG will just eat you up, man. You can't. You have to be together. You have to ensure you're not allowing yourself to just be picked off like that. EDG happy to pick up the scraps, though. They stave off what remained of that Baron. As, yeah, Shanks just a bit far forward. EDG have a small window where they feel like they can just pull the trigger on this. Find Shanks. Stopwatches. Very, very solid. But then, yeah, Heng, I feel like you just let him go, man. There's no real need, right? Q by Lwandy. Even Hope is a little bit too far away to find an Ulma into this team fight. There's no real need to try and pick up the pieces when they're already on the floor.
Little kid there with Uzi 006. Obviously, Uzi, for anyone that doesn't know what that means, he was the 6th signed LPL player when it first became the LPL, you know, when it officialized. Uzi was the 6th player to be signed to a team. And now, Uzi, on those 3 items, has actually gone for a more to make sure that Shanks can't one-shot him, to make sure that Hope can't one-shot him, so he can survive these fights. Q on a good old flank here. This feels a little dangerous for EDG, but they're just going to walk into River as a unit.
Do they know where Shanks is?
Got to be cautious.
Do they know where Shanks is?
See him. Shanks, another great ultimate coming on through here, but survived for the time being. There goes Ivern. Jiejie out of the picture, but FoFo answering, and Uzi's still alive for now. Tibbers taken down as Cube goes forward, but pulled back are the feathers, and FoFo's still alive as well. Hope is in no man's land right now. Turns golden to try and keep himself alive, but knocked up and taken down. This comp is indomitable from the side of EDG, and the fights are just too easy.
Even though they lost their enchanter at the start of the fight, EDG still able to reposition, and it's Uzi, it's FoFo with such excellent positioning, whilst Ala and Meiko are eating up the damage, and WE cannot find the target access that they're looking for. Again, this engage is so strong from WE, right? We spoke about it has to be multiple angles. The hook lands onto FoFo, he rocket jump, buffers it, great. Jiejie though, one shot, Hope makes sure that he finishes off and confirms that kill. Shanks, even though he gets finished off by FoFo, like, the work is done, right? You would imagine, but then at this point, it's about finding access. Hope, Heng, they've already used their ultimates. They can't dive in again to find Uzi or find FoFo. So even though the work that Cube is putting in is excellent, there's no one actually putting major threat onto Uzi and onto FoFo as they reposition and get more damage out. It has effectively played out as a front-to-back by the end of it.
And the W from Hope at the end of the fight actually hit onto Uzi. It would have killed him had he not built a more Amal Mortius. This build from Uzi literally keeping the game alive for EDG. Phenomenal presence of mind to go for that MR. And even with it, what was that, 7,000, 8,000 gold deficit, this composition of EDG so valuable. The mechanics at play there. 2 upgraded Navoris on their side as they will just annihilate Baron. Before vision is even gained, EDG have got it. WE, are you going to try and dive this? Are you going to try and get into the bit? Uzi's alone! EDG abandoned their AD carry, but he's surviving, taken down now by Cube as they charge into the pit. FoFo has to be the carry. Bomb on top of Heng here. He jumps out of the pit, doesn't have the range yet, and Blast comes back on in. Jiejie buying space on the backside of the fight, and even without Uzi, EDG are indestructible. Shanks takes out Meiko as he goes for a little bit too much. But EDG still come out with a man advantage. A hook underneath the tower, but he signed his own death warrant. He falls as FoFo grabs another.
Even though Uzi drops, it's FoFo that comes up huge. And what a time to do it. He's been criticized for his play throughout the season. I think fairly so at times, but this could have been the fight, which could have pushed EDG back into contention to close out this series 3-1 with the Baron. Let's see how much they can get done.
You know, it's going to be a hard game when you find Uzi the perfect pick and you still can't find the fight. I mean, Uzi just left by his team here. They obviously didn't realize Shanks.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like, they just didn't know where Shanks was for so long. Feared up. Eventually goes down, but so much goes on to him still, right? Redemption heals him back up to half, but Hope commits inside of the pit. The fear connects onto FoFo and it forces him to have to dash out, right? Because Cube's on top of him, but has the blast cone there whilst the mixer is still going on. Cube then is obviously focused on trying to, you know, deal with Ala, deal with Meiko. He gets CC'd up, and then FoFo is just allowed to basically hit what's in front of him from start to finish. Clean up more kills off the back end, and now we come out of that replay. Gold effectively even, right? 32 minutes into the game, 1k gold, 700 gold means nothing.
The question now has to be, you've got enough dive to take out 1 carry. Do you have enough dive to take out 2? Because there's 2 AD carries on this roster, and they are both willing and capable of winning out a fight. Like you say, gold basically even at this point. We were 8,000 in favor of WE not that long ago. Ornn items across the board as well, so even more value there than the gold really tells you. And with Baron still 40 seconds on that one, they're going to try and end the game right here. Lwandy has been caught, knocked up, and will be taken out of the picture. That's one Nexus Tower gone already. EDG, they're done with this series. They want to go home. They've got dinner booked. And they want to go to round 2 of playoffs. Featherstorm comes out. Shanks turns gold as they try and get onto FoFo here, but Uzi's still free firing. Shanks will be next to fall. And WE, they've got nothing left in the tank. Hope and Cube separated from their base. The minions will charge in as another knock-up from Ala. He's too good with it. The Ornn triple kill comes through as Cube next on the chopping block. He's forced away, but it just doesn't matter. EDG 3-1 over WE as they keep their dreams of worlds alive.
WE was stonewalled all those years ago by EDG, and they're stonewalled here again. EDG, the fairy tale for that world story that you mentioned. The start of it could have just been what we've witnessed. 3-1 and a convincing back end to the series, and one that we wanted and needed to see out of this lineup. It's an amazing turnaround considering where the gameplay was as well at the start of the split.